This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Carter. I'm welcome you to another sports catastrophe birthday boy. Again, there was no clear-cut winner for best sporting moment on a certain day. For 3 straight days, that has happened. Kind of sucks, doesn't it? But thankfully, I found a birthday boy, and this birthday boy is an icon. He played 21 years in the majors. He played 14 years for Milwaukee, a couple of seasons for Toronto, and a couple of seasons for Minnesota. He was known for his exceptional hitting and speed, making 7 All-Star games and winning 1 World Series, being the MVP in 1993. Paul Molitor is more known in circles as being a great Milwaukee Brewer than a Toronto Blue Jay, but it didn't hurt that he played for the very stacked 93 Toronto Blue Jays team. Molitor grew up in Minnesota and attended the University of Minnesota before beginning his MLB career. Kind of sucks that the Twins didn't take him. Molitor was in the Hall of Fame being elected in 2004 in his first year of eligibility, becoming one of the first players enshrined who had spent a significant portion of his career as a DH, kind of like Edgar Martinez. Molitor was actually a manager for the Twins from 2015 to 2018. So Paul Molitor came from St. Paul, Minnesota. And after his junior year at the University of Minnesota, the Milwaukee Brewers picked him up. But he was picked 3rd overall. Minnesota didn't have a pick. The 2 picks ahead of him were Harold Baines, who was a star for the White Sox, who ironically was so good that the White Sox retired his number 3 while he was still actively playing for Baltimore or some other team. I think it was Texas. And Bill Gullickson, who was this very good pitcher who had 18 strikeouts in 1 game to set the rookie mark until Kerry Wood came along to break that. So it wasn't that bad. Minnesota was upset. I think they wanted Paul Molitor, but Milwaukee said, we want that. So yeah, that was strange and all that. But I digress. Paul Molitor was a fantastic hitter. And, he was really that good. So anyway, Paul Molitor would end up on Milwaukee. And it turned out to be a very good move. So Molitor was a shortstop, but then moved to second base when Robin Yount came back to claim his shortstop spot. So Molitor would actually spend time in the outfield to avoid the injuries associated with playing in the infield all the time. Molitor would move to third base prior to the 82 season. That's the season when Milwaukee shocked everyone by winning the AL East with Harvey's Wallbangers as a young Milwaukee Brewers team that could hit home runs at will. With Cecil Cooper, Gorman Thomas, I guess Robin Yount, and Paul Molitor. They were hitting balls and all that. Molitor did good. In fact, in Game 1 of the World Series against the Cardinals, he got 5 base hits, a new record. He led the AL in runs scored that year with 136. The Brewers sadly lost Game 7 of the World Series to St. Louis, obviously because St. Louis had home field. But Molitor struggled for injuries. He was on the DL 6 times in his first 6 seasons. So, anyway, it wasn't that good. In fact, Molitor would have a better season in 87 because he had a hitting streak that was aiming for the big guns. Pete Rose's streak, Joe DiMaggio's streak, that was huge. Paul Molitor had a 39-game hitting streak. Unfortunately, that hitting streak ended in the worst case scenario. Molitor was on the on-deck circle waiting to hit as the Brewers took on the Indians. in 1987. However, the Brewers' Rick Manning got a base hit, and that ended the game, which meant Molitor's hit streak ended at 39. But it is the fifth longest in modern day history, so that's good. Anyway, so he would have some great seasons for Milwaukee. And then in 92, he wanted to stay in Milwaukee after he was free agent, but the franchise only gave him a 1 year deal. And worst of all, it was a pay cut to $2.5 million. Meanwhile, Toronto figured Molitor would be good to kind of replace Dave Winfield. So they decided to take Molitor on a 3 year, $13 million contract. Bud Selig, who would later become the commissioner of baseball, said that, well, Bud Selig was the owner of the Brewers, said that that was one of his biggest regrets. I bet you the other regret was letting Jeffrey Loria fuck over the Expos. Just saying. So anyway, Molitor played well in Toronto. He had 700 plate appearances and 211 hits, both leading the AL, hitting .332 with 22 home runs and 111 RBIs, putting him second in the batting race to one John Olerud. He was a key cog, in the Blue Jays winning their second World Championship. As Molitor's World Series play was huge. He had 2 doubles, 2 triples, and 2 home runs in the series, winning the MVP award and tying a World Series record by batting .500 in the 6-game series, 12 for 24. Molitor couldn't play DH in games 3, 4, and 5 of the World Series because the rule is that because it's at a National League park, which was Veterans Stadium, he had to risk being out of the lineup. Molitor played first base instead of John Olerud in Game 3, which was a little controversial because Olerud was the batting champion. But Molitor made the naysayers pay dearly by having a great day at the plate. And then he would play third base in Games 4 and 5 for a young Ed Sprague. Molitor had the most singles in the AL in the 94 strikeout season. He actually stole 20 bases and didn't get caught once, and that was just one short of the major league record that Kevin McReynolds set. Molitor left the Blue Jays for his hometown Minnesota Twins for the final 3 seasons of his career, getting his 3,000th hit. A triple against the Kansas City Royals. Molitor wanted to play with Kirby Puckett, but Kirby had career-ending glaucoma and couldn't play. But Molitor did well. Molitor became the second 40-year-old after Sam Bryce, former Washington Senators player of the 1920s, to have a 200-hit season. And he led the league in hits with 225, which was amazing. And Molitor is the last player ever to drive in more than 100 runs while hitting fewer than 10 home runs. Molitor did fantastic and decided to retire as a player. He would be the bench coach for the Twins for 3 seasons. And he looked like he was going to manage the team when Tom Kelly decided to retire in 2001, the guy who led the Twins to 2 World Series titles. But he declined because the Twins were targeted for contraction, but it didn't happen. Molitor became the manager in 2015 for the Twins. It was amazing. I mean, the Twins in 2017 got to the postseason despite losing 103 games the season prior. He became only the second person to be elected to the Hall of Fame as a player and win Manager of the Year. The only other one was Frank Robinson when he did it in 1989 for the Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore's comeback season from a pathetic season in '88. The Twins fired Molitor in 2018. He was 305 and 343. He got the team to 1 playoff series. I think it was against the Yankees, and they ended up. No, they got a 1-game playoff against the Yankees, and they lost. Of course, the Twins have the record for most consecutive playoff losses with 19 straight games they've lost. Not series, games. Molitor was Milwaukee personified, and in June '99, the Brewers decided to retire as number 4. And he was elected to the Hall and has a Brewers cap on his plaque. That's fine. Molitor actually started using cocaine and marijuana in the early years of his career, but then after 1984, after a trial of a drug dealer, he stopped. Molitor would marry somebody, and before their 2003 divorce, it was revealed he fathered his son out of wedlock. Was paying child support. And during his separation from his first wife, he fathered another child with the woman who would become his second wife, and they had their child together. And Mahler had bad family relationships. The power of being a ball player, huh? Anyway, great job by everybody involved. And Paul Mahler is always going to be a 1993 Toronto Blue Jay icon instead of anything else. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.